Hi, I'm Forrest, and you're watching Tape with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I wanna watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. We are here in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm here with Nini Castle, who's been on our show before. She is not only a tremendous pianist, but she is a life coach and healer and an expert at healthy cooking. And today we are talking about Passover, the holiday of Pesach. Nini, you want to share with us some healthy, easy ways to make Pesach comfortable for cooking and healthy. And people think of Passover as a big hassle. Well, all we can do is eat matzah the whole week, nothing else. But it's really not true. Tell me, first of all, how did you learn to be a life coach and a health expert and a healer? What did you do to learn those things?
Well, you know, like all journeys start with the self. So I had an interest for health and wellness, and I started to pursue it when I was about 19. I got very into fitness, and I was cooking for myself since I was 8. One of those fateful days where the parents said, well, if you want it, you go do it. And I said, okay, I will. And they're like, wait, what? Now we have to let her do it. So that's when I started, and I started to research, and life experience was really, really the best because I spent throughout my 20s just living the experiences they talk about in textbooks. They talk about, you know, balancing macronutrients, blood sugar roller coasters, fats, carbs, is it good, is it not good? And I have to say, more than any textbook would be the life experience that I went through on the journey. So I wanted to really use this in service of others. You know, for me it was just an expression of art in the beginning, and then it became, I really wanted to help serve others and show them how this can be a way of life and a way that we can really up-level our existence in more than one way, you know, from artistically to tasty. Everyone's got to love food, you know, that's why the food is the biggest industry probably. So I wanted to extend it to, you know, Passover cooking because like you said, everyone thinks, matzah, 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 matzah. Oh, that's not true. Think of people who are gluten-free or who can't have wheat or who can't have dairy. It's not so different. It's only a few little shifts that you're doing. So I just wanted to express this in the art of mostly vegetarian, but this can definitely be, you know, for most people, a lot of people like chicken and beef, or you can even use dairy products or fish or whatever. So this can really extend more than just what I'm showing in the vegetables.
Now, are you yourself nowadays eating any fish, dairy, and meat yourself?
So I eat fish and I eat dairy and eggs. I do not eat chicken or beef or any kind of red meat. I gave that up almost 10 years ago, and it's worked for me. Now, obviously I'm in service that there's as many people as there are in the world. That's how many diets and eating plans. You know, the truth is diet is not really such a nice word. It's got a kind of a bad rap, so I have to say that's as many eating plans as there are in the entire world.
How do you yourself find that you keep up the amount of carbs that you need to have to stay healthy and the protein that you need to stay healthy? Do you have to focus on fish and cheese and eggs to get those things, or do you find other ways to do it?
I found many ways to do it. For me, myself, I like to balance it. There's plant protein. Those are your legumes, which are not kosher for Passover according to certain customs. But those are also, you can combine different plants to get the essential amino acids.
So legumes like beans and corn have a lot of protein in them?
They do when they're combined, like peas and lentils. They have fiber and they have a lot of protein. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So tell me, do you need to, and I know you do, but do you need to be working out on a regular basis along with a diet like this to stay healthy? Is it necessary? Is light working out, light exercise enough when you're on a healthy diet to stay in good health, or do you need to really have a regiment when it comes to working out and exercising?
So that also will depend on the person, and I believe that there are 5 different ways of exercise. I mean, there's more than just 5, but we talk about cardio and strength and coordination, flexibility, and balance. You want to try to, just like you have a well-rounded diet, you want to have a well-rounded exercise plan, whatever that is to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a gym. It could be, you know, someone lives on the 3rd floor of their building and they have to carry up all the groceries. It can be walking to the grocery store instead of taking the car or the bus. You can really implement it into your life, and I like to also try to service people who say, well, I don't have time for the gym, or I have children. Well, that's fine. You know, that's fine, because even caring for kids, clean up when you're bending, there's an art called functional training, which talks about how you can make your movements functional for you. So definitely a healthy diet or eating plan goes hand in hand with healthy movement, because yes, you can be eating healthy, and that's great. But the other part of that, it's 2 halves of the same whole, is to make sure that you're moving your body, whether that's in a gym, on a bicycle, swimming, whatever, or it's, you know, just implementing it into your day-to-day life. You want to try to get your heart rate up, because that's when your body starts to get into the fat burning zone, and that's when you're sweating and detoxing in more ways than just one.
Interesting. During the regular year, not Passover, what is your gluten intake? Do you eat bread? Do you say hamotzi on Shabbat with challahs? Do you only taste it because you don't want to take in too much gluten? How do you do that as in your healthy diet?
So with me, I believe everything in moderation, and I do have bread, but I don't have bread every day, because before I had gotten into this, and even on the journey, I would, you know, because my exercise routine is, you know, a little larger, so you have to make sure that you're balancing appropriately, and I had days where I had bread, and I would have a lot of bread, so I didn't necessarily go out on cake, but I did have it for bread. And, you know, I say this just so people hear that, you know, even for someone who is very health conscious, the struggle is the same.
Well, Oprah says, I love bread, I eat bread, right?
I love bread.
Exactly, so I love bread, and when I took my health personally to the next step, everyone said to me, you gotta give it up. And I said, you know, but I don't want to. So I made bread, something that I have twice a week, and it's not on Shabbat, actually.
Do you make whole wheat bread
I do.
and healthier bread, right?
I do, or if I'm getting it from the store, I make sure it's the whole wheat, or, you know, the whole grain, that type of thing. But I have it twice a week, and I very much enjoy it in that moderation, because then I get to look forward to it. It's a treat. Yay, I get to have bread. So you can definitely do that with your food. And on Shabbat, I will just have the taste, just to say hamotzi. And I don't, you know,
You don't indulge.
I don't indulge, because I've had my other days on different eating plans, just based on my needs.
I understand. And what about drinking wine or grape juice if you can't drink wine? What do you do for kiddush and stuff as far as healthy diet? Now I know people who are on very healthy diets, and what they do is, just to talk about Shabbat, not Pesach because it's a little bit different, but on Shabbat they always have a guest every week, so the guest can say kiddush on a whole cup of wine or grape juice, whatever the case might be, and they take little sips of it, but that's it. They don't have any intake of wine or grape juice on a regular basis, or at least indulgently, because of their healthy diet habits. What's your take on that?
So they actually say a cup of red wine, the dry red
I've
wine,
heard that.
is very healthy.
Even
so,
for a pregnant woman, they say.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of fascinating things. Me, you know, when I used to drink, they say it's the kiddush wine, I only used to have like a little sip in those little cups. And again, being sensitive, when you become more health conscious, your body will tell you what's good and what's not. And even though I like the taste of that very low alcohol, it's almost a grape juice type of a wine, I can't, like the Rashi light, I can't have it because it gives me heartburn. So what I do is, on Shabbat, somebody will say kiddush, and they'll say it on grape juice, and they'll drink, and I'll just be quiet as I am receiving the blessing.
You'll say amen and let them drink on your behalf.
Exactly, on my behalf, and then, you know,
so
I go
your
and I wash, you know, on the bread. And for Passover, Pesach, what I do is I take a little sip of the red wine, because I don't like the grape juice, even less I like it, so I like prefer the wine. But I have my water bottle right next to me so that I can wash it down immediately to avoid it, or to reduce the heartburn as much as I can. And I certainly do not drink 4 full cups. It's a sip. It's literally a sip. And then it's just, it'll be 8 to 12 ounces of water right next to me, so I can just keep myself hydrated and clean as best as I can.
All right, and that's how you do it diet-wise, and still try to come close to or as close as you can in your healthy habits to fulfill whatever you can. Very interesting. So now tell me, when it comes to Passover cooking, really, the healthy cooking that we're going to talk about and you're talking about really can be all year round, right? It's no different during Passover, but it isn't hard to do for Passover, which is why we're talking about it for Passover this year, right?
Correct.
Okay, very good. So why don't we start and talk about first of all salads. What do you do to make a salad? What is your dinner salad or table salad or tossed salad ingredients, and why do you use the things you use?
So I have a few of them. The salad, if you want me to talk during the year, it's not kosher for Passover, but it's my favorite one, is green beans with fresh corn, avocado, and rice or quinoa. They're both really, really good. You put a little sea salt into taste, you mix it up, and it's just, it combines all the, say we talk the beans, the corn, beans, and rice to make those proteins complete.
Interesting.
And on Passover, what I do is I take asparagus, because it's the same color as the green bean, even though it's quite a different nutrient, and I mix that with quinoa, because quinoa is kosher for Passover, and then I use the cooked carrots, because it's got the sweetness. It's not quite corn, but it's got the sweetness, and then I still use the avocado the same.
Let me clarify something that you said, just so people understand. The Ashkenazic Jewish custom, as you mentioned, is not to eat legumes, so corn and beans would fall under that category, so you can't use those. So you're saying you use asparagus, and what else did you say?
Carrots and quinoa.
Oh, and quinoa, right. Instead of rice. So rice also falls under the category of legume and or replacement grain. And so quinoa is something that is allowed to be used. So you use quinoa and asparagus in exchange for that. And does it keep the same healthy level?
The protein is a little bit different, so you have to find other ways to balance your protein, but asparagus is very healthy. Quinoa is extremely healthy for you. Carrots, a lot of vitamin A, and avocado is a wonderful source of healthy fat. And when people hear the word fat, they freak. They're like, fat, whoa, keep it away. And that's something, it's a shame because it's good for your brain, and just to have education of what is considered a healthy sort of fat and what is not considered a healthy source of fat. So,
So what about if somebody wants a chef's salad? What if they want to go and make the salad the full meal? What would you add comfortably to a chef's salad to make it more complete of a meal?
So what I would do is I would try to, again, we focus on balancing the macronutrients, which is your balance of fat, fiber, and protein. So, the lettuce is filled with that fiber. It's very good. It's very low in calories. But
Are we talking about head lettuce or leaf lettuce or romaine lettuce? Which one, or are they all equal in some way?
They're similar enough. I mean, I've never thought to classify them differently. I'm talking about the iceberg lettuce. That's what I use. And but leafy greens in general, they have a lot of iron, a lot of very good macronutrients for you.
The greener, the more iron, right?
I think so, yeah. And so then I'll add in like tomatoes, cucumbers. You can even put in an egg, because an egg is a wonderful source of protein and fat. You can put in nuts.
Do you include the yellow when you do it?
Yeah.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The yellow, the thing to know about the yolk actually is it's a wonderful source of good cholesterol. And the white is where the protein is, and the yellow is also where the good fat is, and it's one of the best sources of fat that you can get.
That's interesting that you bring that up. So people often say, I don't eat the yellow of an egg because I have high cholesterol, but you're saying that the yellow of an egg is really the good cholesterol. Really? I think people don't know that.
Yeah, no, it's one thing to know is that, just dietary-wise, especially in the United States, there's a lot of sedentariness. It's just our jobs, sitting, and there's a lot of very quick processed food, and even food that says all natural on the package is not necessarily all natural, and we mistakenly think that it's good for us because we're such everything quick, so that the art of putting together a meal and knowing what you're doing has been somewhat lost just along the way. So, when people have cholesterol issues, it's not because of eggs, but it's because of the high processed foods, the high fat content in the meats that they're eating, like, the hot dogs, and not that I want to go putting down foods, it's not what I'm here to do at all. But, all the red meats and, the high levels of unhealthy fats, that's what causes it. That's what causes the blockage to happen.
What is as a health coach, what is your opinion or your practice between organic and non-organic vegetables and foods? And tell me, is there that much of a difference in the big picture for someone in their level of health?
You know, that's a huge controversy. Huge controversy. I've heard back and I've heard forth. When it comes to things natural that you see from the ground, it's best to do the organic because you're not putting in all those growth hormones. You're not putting in all the pesticides, or maybe much less. So when it comes to natural things, especially like apples, there's a list of certain foods that really you should be very mindful of, that you should really try to go organic if possible. Things like avocado, not necessarily as much. It has a thicker peel, but apples, they're so susceptible. But when you go to the store...
So that would mean pears would fall into that same category, and other things with thin skins that are edible. Okay.
But when you go to the store and you buy like the bag of chips that says organic and natural, chances are, or the grains or whatever, chances are that's not so good for you. It's very processed. They're just writing down organic. That's what I've seen in my own.
So there's a rabbi here in the community who is not only does kosher supervision, but he works for organic certification. And he goes to these factories. He's one of those health people that I was telling you about that I know. He goes to these factories, and he is the one who certifies for the government whether they are organic or not. And he says if the things that he certifies are organic, there is nothing in them, no ingredient, no chemical or anything that's in the ingredients that hasn't been certified organic. So if the government certifies something organic, is there still something to worry about, do you think?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, a lot of things are not driven by the wellness of health, but more the money involved behind it. And I've seen this personally, and not to get to a whole political, I want to stay out of that, focus more on trying to promote the health. But yeah, unfortunately, the FDA and the government, they will call something okay because when they say there's 0 calories per serving, it isn't 0, it's trace amounts. That is, the serving is so small that you can call it 0.
I'll give another example for people to understand. There are a number of things that say non-dairy, but if you look on the kosher label on it, it says OUD or OKD on it, which it says it is dairy because there are dairy ingredients, but according to health as far as allergy and government's minimal amount standards, it doesn't fall under the category as dairy. But under kosher laws, because there are dairy ingredients, it is dairy. A good example of that would be Coffee Mate non-dairy creamer that people put into their coffee. Coffee Mate says non-dairy, but it says OUD, and it is actually dairy in its ingredients and can't be used with meat in kosher settings. So that's just an example, not that I want to talk about processed foods. I do want to talk about some of the things you prepared here for Passover. And this here is looks like a sort of a chef salad, a dinner salad. Tell me what's in it and why you chose to put in it what you did. And I see there are onions, which you didn't talk about.
Okay, so I chose to put in lettuce and tomatoes and egg and purple onion and nuts of your choice. And I actually like to put cheese in here. I did not put it in this particular dish, but I do like to. And the reason that I do that is because I like to try to cook with the rainbow. It's a very fun, artistic concept. As many colors as there are, you get the variety of many different nutrients. And if people are familiar with the chakra system, which goes along healing, each chakra is associated with a color. So the more variety we use in God's palette, the more it's awakening different energies within us. And the more that we can service others, it's really a fascinating thing. So not only does it balance macronutrients of fat, fiber, and protein, it also balances the color spectrum in a variety of ways using just your very basic ingredients, like natural types of ingredients.
So do you use oils and vinegars for dressings or salts for dressings or no dressing? What do you do for yourself? And when people want dressing at the table, how do you prepare that dressing?
So I am no dressing. For me personally, oils and I do not agree. Now, it doesn't mean that oils are not healthy. You have a lot of very healthy oils, again, to watch out for things like trans fat.
Which no longer can be sold in the U.S. market legally. because as of January 1st, I believe 2017, trans fat is not allowed to be used in any U.S. Certified foods that come through the market. Although you can see still some certain things that come from out of the country and things like that that are brought in that may have trans fat. But thank God for that. But tell me, for example, are we talking about olive oil as what you're considering to be a healthy oil, or canola oil? What are healthy oils when you have to use oil?
So I actually, my tactic is I don't cook with oil at all. I make breads without oil. I make desserts, quote unquote, the Nini version of desserts without oil. I don't use it because it does not agree with me. But, however, when you look at the oils, certain oils cannot be heated. They break down over heat. So like an extra virgin olive oil is healthy. But when you heat it over 200 or 250 degrees, it starts to break down and become rancid, no longer being healthy for you. It's meant to be used cold and raw. Other things, they say avocado.
So you shouldn't fry with olive oil, you're saying?
No. Shouldn't
Really?
fry, shouldn't cook. When you want to fry or saute, you should use an oil that specifically can take high temperatures. An example would be avocado oil. Some say peanut oil. There is some issue with allergies.
Peanut oil, did you say?
Yeah.
But we can't use peanut oil on Passover.
Exactly. So, some say you can use grapeseed oil. And there are some myths about coconut oil, but coconut oil, again, it's made to be used cold. You're not supposed to heat it up.
So coconut, I don't know what you call it, coconut fat. I don't know what they call it actually, but the stuff you buy in the jar and cook with, it's good to cook cold, to do things that are cold, but you shouldn't use it for frying.
Correct.
Very interesting. All right, so this salad you would use with the meal or as an opening appetizer normally? This
would be an opening appetizer for me. And this actually is my personal dish. It could be served to everyone. This is something that I'll eat, the whole thing through, just because I find it very delicious. It's very filling, and I feel it's good to fill up on this type of stuff and to make sure that the nutrients are there. And then if there's room afterwards, you can put in maybe a little more fun stuff, if you will. But this is the fun stuff for me. It's the art part,
All right, I'm going to go to, these look so delicious. These are your pepper creations, and I want to talk about these. Tell me, first of all, are these your main course? Are these a side dish with the main course? Why did you prepare these, and how are they prepared? Because I see they're two different ones.
Okay, so these can all be main or side depending on how you choose to do it. And one of the peppers can be stuffed with quinoa. I put a little tomato sauce and some spices for garnish, and there's a major love with the art of garnishing. It's wonderful what you can do with garnishing. The other one, I just took an egg and I cracked it and I put it inside, put it in the oven for about an hour, and there you go. So the one with the egg can be used for breakfast. You still love your scrambled eggs for breakfast. You can stick it in a pepper. You can enjoy. You can have it as a snack. You can have it as a side dish.
So it only has an egg in it?
The egg and spices.
Egg and spices. And the other one has quinoa and what else?
Tomato sauce, and I kept it basic just for show, but you can add in all kinds of vegetables. You can add in tomatoes, mushrooms. You can add in lettuce. Not lettuce. Celery. There you go. I'm lost for words here. Celery and whatever you'd like. It's really, the sky's the limit with the creativity here. It's for you to have fun.
So I when I looked at the one on the left of our screen right now, I didn't realize it was egg. I thought it was cheese melted on it. Do you ever cover them with cheese and do that?
You can.
Yeah.
You can. You definitely can.
Very interesting. They look delicious. They look delicious, and I'm sure they are. But you do use spices. Do you use salt in your spices also?
I do.
Okay, very good. All right, so we want to go and move on to our next dish. This is your vegetable dish. Is this a cold dish or a warm dish?
This is a cold dish, but there are some ingredients that were cooked. So I have cooked carrots, which I will cook, the day before, and very, very delicious. I'll garnish them with, salt, pepper, and garlic. Gives it a nice flavor and I'll put an onion in there because the onion gives it such a rich sweetness that the water left behind.
Just get a really good picture of this. And I love, once again, the rainbow colors, as you mentioned, make it look very, very attractive.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the whole fun. And then, I put in the raw tomatoes, steamed broccoli, and the onion for some color, the purple onion. You can put in yellow squash for yellow. When it's not passive, you can put in corn. You can really just have a lot of fun with the rainbow. It's fascinating.
Wow, this is so cool. Looks delicious also. And you also put spices in, or do you eat these without spices?
You can do it either way. I like to play with spices, so garlic and garlic and pepper and sea salt.
Do you use all natural? You don't buy any powders, right?
We do have powders,
You do use
but
powders.
I also use the natural. So I use like a clove of garlic. I also use the garlic powder. As long as you're getting a high quality brand, then
Not necessarily organic. You don't necessarily use organic.
No, I don't. But make sure that it's a good quality, because sometimes you can smell if it's going rancid. You can smell that it's starting to go kind of funny. So, when you smell it has a nice strong flavor, and again, look on the ingredients. If it says like added spices, but it doesn't specify, probably a good idea not to buy it. But if it tells you onion, garlic, whatever, and it gives you the specific list of ingredients, you know what's in there.
So we only have a minute left, and I just want to ask you in closing, if somebody wants to look for a way to find something special to make this year for Pesach in a healthy category like this, something you didn't make here, what items would you talk about for them?
Well, a lot of the big meals, like the big festive meals, revolve around the beef and the chicken, and that's pretty much the same. That doesn't change. I think it's more like during the week, people look for filler, like, oh, I can't have my cereal, I can't have my breakfast, I can't have my snacks, I can't, these like snack foods, which, if you love your pancakes for breakfast type of a thing, and you want to do it in a healthful way, you can take egg with like an over-ripened banana, have one of these, over-ripened banana with your egg and with cinnamon, and you mix it together, and you have yourself a nice healthy pancake, and it's good. I mean, it's sweet, it's good. The cinnamon gives it like a warming flavor, and what I have used for breakfast myself is I take like a whole grain oat matzah and I crush it, and again I mix a little cinnamon, and I do a little bit of sea salt. And the reason I add the salt is because the trick with salt is that it brings up the flavor, so you don't have to put in tons and tons of cinnamon or tons and tons of sweetener of choice or whatever.
It enhances
It enhances it, and I actually, you can put a little milk in it, and it kind of mimics like a cereal and milk. You can put hot water and mimic like a real oatmeal. I've seen that to work very nicely.
Very nice.
And I've created some very nice like matzah pizza type things, which again, lots of vegetables. You can put cheese on if you like, you don't have to, and just make it as colorful as possible, and it can be a lot of fun. It really, really can.
Nice. Are you going to show us a few things quickly as the show closes? What are these things you're going to show us? Yeah,
I have a couple matzah pizzas that I've decorated, and I can display that. And another very cool one, if fish is expensive or what have you, or you want to do something very, very easy, you do this with canned tuna. I line the bottom of the pan with onion, and again, garnish to taste, a little bit of water, and you can take the canned tuna, might require a few cans if you're doing a large pan, and you put it on top of the onion, garnish it on top, and you put it in the oven and you bake it for about an hour. The onion becomes soft, but it absorbs the flavors without too much, excess fat from like the animal fat that some people want to avoid, and it's very, very tasty. So that I have like a small serving that I can show. I don't have a large pan of it, but a small serving that I can show.
Very nice. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Nini Castle, health coach, life coach, and cook extraordinaire, as well as a wonderful piano player. I want to thank you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see former shows on the web or watch Nini play piano. And if you want to email either of us, info@tvrabbi.com. I'll forward it to Nini, and I know she'll get back to you. Hope to see you next time. Chag Sameach. Happy Passover, everyone.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.